today's topic is going to be NASCAR. The winner of the Subway Fresh Fit 500 is Carl Edwards, with Subway as the sponsor. I'm going to briefly talk about the race before I talk about some problems I have with NASCAR. So Carl Edwards was pretty dominant. He led 122 of the 316 laps and also managed to save enough fuel to make it to the finish under a green-white checker. He managed to hold off a charging Jimmy Johnson and a charging Brad Keselowski. Some other notes from the race: Danica Patrick finished as 39th after getting involved in a crash on lap 186. She lost control of the car when her tire blew and hit the fence, and then hit David Reagan. Other than that, there were a few minor incidents. Ryan Newman also had some tire issues. So moving on to my overall criticism of NASCAR, a bunch of opinions I saw post-race on various sites were about how they thought this week's race and last week's race were very boring. Lack of excitement, I guess lack of passing, lack of real drama. And can't 100% blame NASCAR for not enough excitement. You know, Daytona, you couldn't tell who was going to win until the last lap. And this week too, with the green-white checker, it added some excitement. But my problem is that races are simply too long. You watch the race, and even if it's one of the most exciting races, it's 3.5, 4 hours, and then you wonder why NASCAR's overall popularity is not increasing. People don't have time to watch for 3 to 4 hours, and also it's not necessarily a designated time frame, because if there's a big crash or some other problem, there's no time frame for how they're going to clean it up. For example, last year, Daytona 500, when Juan Montoya hit the jet dryer exploded, so it caused a very big delay, not to mention other times when there's rain delays, it slows down everything. Similar issue in baseball, that there's no real time frame for how long the game's going to be, but it usually is around 2.5, the most 3 hours, unless it goes to extra innings. But NASCAR's usually 3.5 to 4 hours. So my solution to potentially improve the overall popularity or the overall success of NASCAR as a sport is to maybe cut down the amount of laps that they have to race. Maybe by 100 or 150, make the races closer to 2.5 to 3 hours. Kind of like F1, there's not as many laps, although racing, in my opinion, is still not as exciting as NASCAR. So by shortening the races, I believe they're going to improve on attracting more casual fans. Because, you look at F1, it's huge in Europe, and also you look at how many laps they run, it's a lot fewer than in NASCAR. The races are much shorter, and that's more convenient for more fans. Nobody, unless they're diehards, really wants to watch for 3.5, 4 hours each week. But if they're 2.5 hours, it's just like any other sporting event. People are willing to give up that time, and the sport can attract more fans. So once again, congratulations to Carl Edwards on winning the Subway Fresh Fit 500. Congratulations to Subway on getting the race sponsor and the car sponsor in victory lane. We'll see if NASCAR is really going to do anything, or if they're just going to keep the races the same length. This has been Green Snipes.